Hello, year two AHEC Scholars. Congratulations for a successful year and completing year one. I am Dr. Susan Weirs, your faculty for the AHEC Scholars Year Two program this year. And this recording is just to give you a general overview. I know you have some familiarity with AHEC Scholars already, which is helpful. This year is quite different, though, in that it is about practice transformation, and it's really dedicated to that topic, with the exception is there is some telehealth training with it. And it's going to be a little bit, this is a sort of a pilot on how we integrate the incoming Masters of Social Work students from the University of Michigan with the other AHEC scholars who have been in IPE together over the last year. And so the social work students graduate in December. They've had some experience already with planning, doing the literature review, and planning a practice transformation project in a community-based setting. So they have some of that preparation and work done, and we're going to have to work together carefully on how to align you with each other so that we can make this IPE. Then students coming in have things they certainly can add. We may have to tweak things to make it more achievable on a smaller level, is my suspicion. I haven't seen all the projects, but I'm familiar with some of them, and some of them are very large projects, which would not be feasible. So there's going to be a little bit of negotiating this time on this. So I'm going to start to share my screen. Hopefully I do this correctly. And there we go. I'm going to start with, I'm going to start with this document here. I believe this is our syllabus. Yes, and I have to. So this is our new syllabus, and I'm the faculty, as you know. Jill McGrath-Horner is still your administrative assistant. She's very knowledgeable. I'm fairly new. I've only been with AHEC Scholars since January 2021. It's been a steep and continues to be a steep learning curve. So bear with me, and we'll work together to make this a successful and good year. So the prerequisite, you had to finish year one and all those activities by September 15th. And I think most of you are pretty much done with that. Most of you were done with that in the spring. We have a cohort of doctoral nursing program students who have joined us in the summer, and they did year one just in a few months from the summer. And some of them still might be wrapping a few hours up. We have both synchronous and asynchronous meeting times. The synchronous meetings are really just meetings with us, sort of meet and greet kinds of thing. But then there are also some check-ins, as you had last year for asynchronous, and you reflect, answers to the questions that are posed of you. The coursework is all asynchronous. You do work together as a group, though, and that can be done asynchronously and synchronously. So we'll go over the calendar in a bit, but you are self-directed in terms of getting through the asynchronous coursework. There are not nearly as many modules as there were in year one, because the main focus is on practice transformation. My preferred method of communication is email. I much prefer that. And you can do Susan Weirs at wayne.edu. And I'm easy to find. I'm pretty good about responding. My expectation is that I would respond to you within 48 business hours. So that means excluding weekends, approved time off, holidays. But very honestly, it's usually much quicker than that. Let's see. So as you know, it's a 2-year program, and we are supplementing your knowledge and skills from your whatever program you happen to be in now, to really set you up for success in serving underserved populations, both rural and urban, by giving you special, those core topics that you've been working on. So as you know, here are the core year one. Here's year two, practice transformation. Learning outcomes have not changed, and I'm not going to read through all that. Online etiquette, you can read through it later on your own, but just, be respectful of each other. um, and try to use the things that, no all cap letters. Try to keep jokes out of it because people might not understand you saying something in jest. So just try to, be concise, respectful, and straightforward. All right, so you have to be enrolled in either a health profession degree program or an allied health workforce degree certification program. Participating in 40 hours of didactic education, which we provide in the modules, and 40 hours of community-based experiential clinical training. And this should be part of your current curricular requirements. Agree to complete a one-year survey after graduation upon completion of your health professions or allied health workforce program, and agree to stay actively engaged with the current all program activities throughout the 2 years, although there is the exception for the Master of Social Work students from University of Michigan who will be graduating this December. So they have a special assignment accordingly. Course delivery is primarily asynchronous online. You're all familiar with Moodle by now. I think there are 3 check-ins this time that are asynchronous. If you're going to withdraw, please let us know. We're usually left, sometimes we're left just wondering what happened to a student. If you're having a difficult time, please reach out to both Jill and me. And if you don't reach me first, you certainly will be able to. You have, this is your pre-recorded video right now. I don't know when this is, August 31st in my world. You'll be seeing this hopefully by September 10th. You have the questionnaire before you start any of your practice transformation pre-test stuff. You are to have the 3 meet and greets. So our first one will be September 13th. You have AHEC asynchronous Moodle reflection. You have 3 of those apparently. You have quizzes and your safety. So we have Dr. Telemingris has a presentation. He is an expert in patient safety. His recording is very, very helpful. But we also want you to think about safety in primary care because you are really, in this case, primary care is our goal place for you to hopefully be employed sometime with underserved populations. There is an ARC document, very, very helpful, lots of URLs and a couple of journal articles to read. So and then there's a telehealth, there's a pre-test and a post-test survey, 3 video presentations, which are all quite helpful. So for your practice transformation project, this is going to be a little complicated and we'll work through it together. The Master of Social Work students from the University of Michigan took a course this summer. I believe all of them, if not most of them, have. Taken it, and that part of their course was a project very similar to this. And the idea with bringing them on board was they would have some of that experience under their belt and can use some of that for the purposes of our practice transformation project. But this is an IPE course, and it is important we work in interprofessional education groups. So that means at least from 2 health professions. So by October 8th, we're going to have a meet and greet in the meantime. And you can get to know each other and chat back and forth a little bit, and establish groups of roughly 4 to 6 students from at least 2 health professions. And you need to also select both. We need to select two point people. So these are the people we're going to communicate. So you'll be given probably a group number, group 1, group 2. I'm not sure how we'll be setting that up, but and from that group, if you have a social work student in there who's graduating, that person needs to be the point for the group for the social work students who are graduating. And then an overall point person who is responsible for communications back and forth between faculty and the students, and that way I'm not getting 3 or 4 emails from different people about basically the same thing. Please do not send an email to me that the rest of the group is not aware of, that is relevant to your group, because that's it's confusing for both students and me, and to not have that clear understanding up front about what's going on. And you can certainly copy the other students on that, but we want one point person. We have a phone number for in case we need to reach the group. and an email address. This will all be submitted by the Moodle Dropbox, and I will make sure the groups look okay, and we'll go from there. Project proposal is October 22nd. Is that goes into the Moodle Dropbox. So there's probably going to be some back and forth with the groups and me. So we need to really look at what those social worker students have done, what we can take from that, what you guys can take from that as a group and use. You hopefully can implement together. It might not be the whole project. Some of them I saw last semester were very broad and much more than a group could do. But we want you to take a piece of that, and it might be used in a different setting, which I'm hoping you can use from your clinical settings perhaps, or there might be a possibility of being able to use the settings the social workers were initially in. I'm not really certain about that. So we'll have to work together on those project proposals, and they're due the October 22nd. The logic model is only a social work student submission because they won't be here to implement. That usually happens after the first of the year. And so they need to submit a logic model, which is that detailed plan of what all has to happen to make this project work. So there's a blueprint there, and basically the only part of it they probably won't be involved with is the implementation that the rest of the group will have to carry on with. But the planning and all that was to be of at least including the social workers. And so what will happen out of what they've already done is the students will need to conduct additional literature review, fine-tune things to tailor this in terms of the current setting they're going to be in. For the rest of the project documents, for the rest of the group, that is a poster and the executive summary. I don't think there'll be any other documents. I might ask for like a reference list, something of that nature. It wouldn't be anything that should cause additional undue work. And then that's all due by Moodle Dropbox by March 15th. And we need it done by that date so we can plan ahead for the April 2022 graduation and poster presentations. I want to have opportunity to look through those documents, make recommendations on how to improve them if possible or if necessary. And that gives you opportunity to in turn take that feedback into consideration, update your poster or executive summary as asked, and you'll be ready to roll then. And then wrapping up is practice transformation Qualtrics, which is a Qualtrics thing in Moodle. And that occurs after you're done with the social work students. I think we'll be doing it in December. I think it's December 20th. It's somewhere in Moodle. And then in March for the other group. So here's the assignment. The social work student should engage students from at least one other health profession, an achievable, measurable component of their project from their 863 course from last summer. They work in teams, and these teams must be interprofessional. In your case, there is no reason you can't get an interprofessional person from AHEC Scholars, so I would not expect that the social work students would be only working with professionals in a setting. They need to pair up with people who are also in the program. Teams should be submitted to me, and like I said, I need to have a point person, so we have someone to phone call or email, to call or email if we need to talk to them. And that became sort of a problem, or a need rather, in the spring when we were preparing for the presentations. The U of M social work students have the logic model by Dropbox. Practice transformation projects must improve the quality of healthcare delivery. And it could be any of the quadruple aims from the IHI. So if you're unfamiliar with that, and you should become familiar with it pretty soon. Review evidence of the significance of the problem. So you need to do a lit review again. You just don't take what the social work students did in the summer. For those of you who are pairing with the social work students, you're going to also update things according to the specific setting you might be in. That might be different. And then you need to, first of all, your plan needs to be a quality improvement plan. This is not research. I just want that to be very clear, because we do not conduct research here. We're not doing IRB reviews. So we have to make sure everything is de-identified, aggregate data, and not anything that could result in identification of an individual. You are taking evidence and you are putting it into practice. You are not creating new knowledge or research. It should address the problem identified in number 3. So an example that was a really good example from this past year was a group that decided to use the actually the provider satisfaction, which is part of the quadruple aim. So they took the triple aim and added one more to look at the aspect of the provider, because we know that burnt out healthcare providers actually does result in worse patient outcomes, as you can well imagine. And so what they did is they looked at the pandemic, they did the literature search, and sure enough, of course, healthcare providers were being negatively affected by the pandemic. So they selected an outpatient community clinic that was federally qualified. They had arranged, they got a sort of a baseline score. I don't remember now if they used a particular scale or just asked some questions. And they got an aggregate. This is the percentage of people who felt this way, for instance. I don't remember the details of it offhand. And then they provided them with a free mobile app to sign up for. They worked with them a little bit on mindfulness and meditation, about how to do it, secured space in that, which is unusual to have excess space in a setting, by the way, but they did happen to have a place where they could go and do this. And it did actually result in, as they expected, improved experience on the part of the healthcare profession, because they had found the literature that in fact this works. And so they implemented it and it was successful. It was very easy, elegantly simple. And it wasn't needing, they weren't needing to achieve world peace. They were just taking this small thing that they could do for this small clinic for these few people. Most often things are related to patient outcomes, but certainly provider outcomes is fine too. And that can be reducing cost, improving the patient experience, so patient satisfaction. So you just need to review the triple aim. Implement the project and collect outcome data that is a result of improvement, but like I said, it cannot be identifiable data. De-identify aggregate numbers. You're not looking at statistical significance. You are simply looking at, did the score improve? Because statistical significance is the role of research, is does something work or not? You're going to find something that the evidence says, yep, this works, and you're going to go ahead and implement. They must have a letter of confirmation on letterhead from the agency that you worked with. So you have to have some proof you did it, in other words. You develop a poster. You have the executive summary. And so I give you samples of this in Moodle. So, all right, let me go down. All right, here we go. So I'm going to log into Moodle. I don't know why that does not want to open. There we go. So here's your course. Yay. The syllabus I'm going to update. I think it's not quite right. This is the course year 2, the same thing, but we're going to change a couple things there, I think. So, all right. So here are the meet and greet. So the first one will be the link is going to be sent for Teams or Zoom, and we're going to meet then. And hopefully this, when you start to get to know each other, chat back and forth, and maybe you can start working on your teams. But then you're going to meet and greet again the 4th. So you got a little bit of time, a couple of those meetings, and you should start figuring it out. These are the check-ins. These are narrative. Practice transformation pretest. Here's patient safety. Let's see here. And then the telehealth. So we had a quiz for this last year and everybody missed it. So we just sort of dumped it and went with the pre and the post test on these things. Our pre and post survey seemed to be adequate. This is your quality improvement project. So you need to establish your groups and it tells you what to submit. You can submit this probably by, I'm not sure if it's just uploading a document or you can also just type in directly. Usually that's the case. Proposals due October 22nd. That should be based on literature. So you need to find an evidence-based intervention for a clinical problem of interest. And you need to, it has to be something that's doable and achievable. You know, if you need a lot of financial resources, then you're not going to be able to do it. And then the final documents are due on the 15th. So that's the executive summary, poster, other document might be a reference list, for example. It's not going to be anything that we're going to create a new assignment for you, just something you should easily be able to produce. This logic model for the UM students only for December 15th. It's 1 point person. Please let us know. And then there are some additional resources like here's the templates for the posters, project overview, additional resources like how you create an executive summary and a good poster. So this was an example from the past. Let's see. Here's a PDSA worksheet, Plan, Do, Study, Act. That is that's, you know, interim, looking at how things are going and making adjustments as needed, poster template. And let's see here. Additional resources. Here are some ways to make an academic poster and executive summary. So that really just helps you out with that. Overview is, here you go. This was, I think that's got to get changed. And the post practice transformation post test for the social work students is due December 20th. For all other scholars is due March 20th. So 5 days after your documents are due. And here are just some things regarding the AHEC Scholars Conference Award Program. And basically you send Jill an email, tell her what you want to take, provide a link if you can, or some kind of flyer, and then she submits it to me for approval. If it's something I'm unfamiliar with, then I will vet it by seeking out the opinion sometimes of people who maybe know more than I do about it. So for example, this semester, somebody has asked recently for something that's used in psych mental health frequently. I knew that the program was itself, or the intervention itself was evidence-based, but what I didn't know was the organization and their credentials, but turns out they were fine. I was able to run it by somebody I knew in psych mental health. So, and I don't remember the amounts for that, but I'm sure it's all, in the details here. I don't have much to do with that other than the vetting process. So I hope this is helpful. Feel free to reach out to me and I will get back with you, and I'll see you guys pretty soon on September 13th, and I look forward to it. In the meantime, feel free to reach out to me.